This day, 1st of October in our history, is symbolic. It is a day that reminds us of who we are. Its significance debunks every lie told about our identity and reassets our dignity and political evolution as a people and a state worthy of a separate and a freed homeland. Fellow Ambazonian countrymen and women, we all as a people and a state deserve an anchor, a place of refuge, a source of strength, a beacon of hope, a glimpse of possibilities amidst the beclouding state of discontent hanging upon our backs. Indeed, we need a meeting point of our energies and a melting pot of our talent and human capital towards the goal of our very own liberation. A harbinger of our resourcefulness, endurance and resilience in the face of the most daunting of challenges, in the sustenance of a creed whose every strata and utterance demonstrates our determination not only to fight against the imperial injustices of the Republic of Cameroon against our people and nation, but to fight with everything we've got until our liberty is guaranteed a given. To fight and survive and live or die in the defense of justice at the wake of a freed homeland. We want our people to cease from wandering in the wilderness of bewilderment. We want our people to be guaranteed that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We want our people not only to see, but both to feel and to possess the path to a future that they both own and control. A path that guarantees prosperity and inspires hope. A path that is meek enough to allow each Ambazonian a trading space of dignity and honor, responsive enough to advocate and in doing so to protect the right of each citizen of the land despite varying opinions, views and political affiliations, caring enough to reach out to defend and in defending lift up each citizen of the land as an individual or a collective against predictable socio-economic downward turns, especially at the wake of a distress call, firm enough to resist and in doing so defend the territorial integrity of our state, our nation and our dignity as a people, and in defending, win back our nation's statehood as a fruitage of our perspirations in ensuring a society, an Ambazonian society, rightfully possessive of a place in the committee of freed and sovereign states. For these lofty ideals to be accomplished, we need institutions and the institutionalization of a system of governance that represents the people and state, defend her honor, upholds her dignity, and ensures her glory became relevant and remains an overriding hallmark of eloquent necessity. Hence, the birth of the Governing Council of the Federation of Ambazonia, commonly called the AGC. The concept of the Federation implies a geopolitical reality that shall be operated by the stratum of a close federal government. With regards to the fact that an assessment of our people's opinion has proven to the AGC that an overwhelming extraction of Ambazonians desires a government of a federal nature over the question to a preferred geopolitical expression for the Ambazonian at independence. The Governing Council shall perhaps, without tolerance of compromises, continue in its leadership role as the case has been since its inception. Our vision is clear. The restoration of the state of Ambazonia without any negotiation and the forceful or peaceful eviction of the Republic of Cameroon from the Ambazonia remains the bedrock of our enduring vision. This vision is one to which we do not just remain resolute, neither as a council nor as a people, but one for which we are committed to and shall effectively accomplish. The 11-man capacity of the AGC, 3 council to include the National Economic Council, the National Defense Council, and the National Advisory and Action Council home-based called the NAC home-based, the National Advisory and Action Council Global called the NAC Global, the Advisory Council of Ambazonia called the ACA, the General Assembly of the Ambazonia, as well as the Judicial, Human and People's Rights organs currently in the making, are arms associated to the AGC under the humble leadership of Dr. Ayabacho Lucas, which have thus been tasked with this uncompromising vision and progressively empowered and equipped to manifestly accomplish. Fellow countrymen and women, We cannot deny the current realities which has bedeviled us for 56 years running, exposing to us, but unacceptably so, that we have been plunged by the dynamics of the most nefarious intrigues of international conspiracies and mafia of a most eloquent scam of the 21st century over a people and a nation, to a place we do not belong, and that place is the grip and illegal rule of a country that does not serve our best interest as a people and never will. Neither does it repose the right to claim its rule on us, nor to pretend to serve our interest in a sanctimonious hypocrisy, nor to claim possession of our territory and country to which it has given fraudulent tags called Northwest and Southwest regions. In its Napoleonic divide and rule policies, all in a bid to tyrannically obliterate our existence, annul our self-worth and dignity as a people, and territorial integrity as a state. The sorry tales of our economic, political, social, and cultural misfortunes brought about by our aggressors in this state of annexation are only too well known and felt. These woes which we suffer in the hands of our neighboring country to the east was not the dreams our fathers had when decades ago they walked out of the Eastern House of Assembly in Enugu and declared benevolent neutrality in Nigerian politics. This was not the dreams our fathers had when they formed a self-ruling government under the premiership of Dr. E.M.L. Endeli, at the time when the Republic of Cameroon was yet a trust territory under the administration of France and bedeviled by a civil war for independence and not yet free to govern itself. We, as a neighboring self-governing state to the west of the Republic of Cameroon, were already enjoying a nascent democracy which witnessed the first ever democratic transition of power from one elected government to the next in Africa. Perhaps it had not been the dreams of the entire world when, in an epoch-making event of the Fourth Political Committee of the United Nations General Assembly 15th session of Wednesday 19th April 1961, over the question to the former British Southern Cameroon's Accra Ambazonia independence, 52 out of 54 sovereign nations present voted a resounding yes, and thereto designated 1st of October 1961, a date upon which the trusteeship of the Great Britain over the Ambazonia was to expire to the independence and continued self-rule of the Ambazonian state. It was certainly not the dream of the United Nations in 1946 when it caused the United Kingdom to commit to an oath of governance in a sacred trust to take account of our aspirations, promote our just treatment, to ensure our political, social, economic, and educational advancement, and to assist our nation in the progressive development of our political institution in leading the Ambazonian nation towards self-government and eventual independence without any conditions or reservations as captured by the Article 13 of the United Nations Charter and the United Nations Assembly Resolution 1514. Today, it is not our dream as a people and a nation to continue in this quagmire of dehumanization under the imposition of the Republic of Cameroon's colonial and imperial aggression at the expense of our independence and sovereignty. But rather, I have a dream that someday we shall rise from the graveyards of debunkled history and buried truths to the pinnacle of our asserted justice of an independent and liberated Ambazonia. And this is the dream. We as a stop generation must resist and fight back to preserve our honor, regain our self-worth as a people, our dignity and territorial integrity as a nation. We must fight, win back, build and preserve a country of sterling qualities for which the next generations of Ambazonia shall be proud. One which will be a worthy recompense to the dreams of Augustine Gomjua, the father of our country's resistance to the Republic of Cameroon's illegal occupation of our homeland, and to the vast array of our past heroes who for a call to our liberty were made to kiss the brunt of undue tribulations. We must take a stand that goes beyond the egoistic tendencies of complacency, for indeed, evil perpetuates and prevails only when the victims of evil and good people who should have helped does nothing about it. We must all arise to this clarion call as a people, and by so doing substantiate the facts of life and nature, that liberty is the justness of all conceptions, the greatest of all gifts, and the commitment to stand in its defense and success a noble trust in the spectrum of all human endeavors. We must go beyond the limitations of the brazen walls of fear. For a people who have the truth and God on their side as we do has nothing over which to be afraid. We must step out of every cocoon of falsehood and crush every limiting shell of inertia. We must arise as a people whose destiny is in their own hands and whose collective fortunes, culture, values, and unique identity are constantly and progressively under vicious threats of annihilation, as the case has been and continues to be. We must dispossess our psyche of every strand of misinformation peddled by the occupier intended to perpetuate the falsehood of an illegal and vain United Cameroon agenda in its constant but failed desperation to cover up its criminal actions of the annexation, subjugation by an illegal occupation of the Ambazonia. There are a series of questions posed in a publication by one of our very own sons, which truth, justice, and our bitter experiences in this charade agrees to. He wrote and said, "How do you feel when you are considered a foreigner in a country you consider as yours? How do you feel when you are denied an opportunity because you come from a certain part of a country? How do you feel when even in your home, some people call you an Anglophile? How do you feel when you are stereotyped and considered as inferior? How do you feel when you're considered as a black leg because you come from a certain region? How do you feel when you become a target for insults because you are of the English-speaking extraction? How do you feel when you want to go back home for holidays and Christmas and you're stopped on your way for days because of the neglected conditions of the roads? The questions are numerous and inexhaustible, and the simple answer to them all is to say no. No to the Republic of Cameroon once and for all. We must say no. No to any ideology peddled at the expense of our true identity as a separate nation from the Republic of Cameroon. We must join all lovers of liberty, sympathizers to our cause for liberty, compatriots in our cause for liberty, and the custodians of our statehood, such as the outstanding treaties of our international boundaries, the United Nations Charter resolutions, and stand up to defend and regain our Ambazonia. We all as a people must be clarified on the fact that we do not owe the Republic of Cameroon any allegiance of patriotism, because we are not Cameroonian and must henceforth wipe off from our minds the falsehood told to us that we are. You are Ambazonian, and only to the people and state of Ambazonia do you owe a service of patriotism. I therefore, in my capacity as the deputy leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council in this day of the commemoration of the 1st of October in this year 2016, call on all youths and citizens of Ambazonia, both old and young, to lay your hands to the plow and fight for the liberty of your country, Ambazonia. Let this be a sacred commitment from which you shall remain unstoppable and indefatigable both home and abroad. The courts that hold us bound in servitude to the Republic of Cameroon are inexistent theories and rhetorics of history and political fables, fabricated to misguide, mislead, and misdirect this generation and subsequent generations of Ambazonians. But thank goodness we are not deceived. And to dispel this farce and liberate our country, all we need as a people is our collective will and determination to so do by all means attainable. Based on this farce, the Republic of Cameroon, following the ill-fated and illegal plebiscite organized by the United Nations in the Ambazonia, negated the provisions of the United Nations Charter's principles and United Nations resolutions to arrogate to itself a cynical duty by which they illegitimately organized and called a so-called Fumban conference, and while our fathers were at the self-willed safari of an illegitimate constitutional conference, the Republic of Cameroon sneaked behind the scene and ordered their military to invade, take hostage of, and annex our land. Contrary to what they would have us believe and think, John Good Frontier is not to blame for the woes of the Republic of Cameroon's presence in our land, and will never be to blame. The Republic of Cameroon has been creating an education with a target to misinform and give you a reason to shower blames on someone other than the main problem, so as to forever keep you and I distracted to inconsequential trivia of misleading precedents. in order to keep us blind and subservient in servitude. Based on this same fast, they did impose upon our nation their own constitution and called it a federal constitution. By virtue of this same fast, they organized an illegitimate referendum in 1972 and forced a result upon us which further served their imperial interest, and by it consolidated on their grand plan to annex and subjugate the Ambazonia, thereby destroying every economic, political, and social institutions that symbolized our distinctiveness, such as the marketing board, the Cameroon Bank, all airports and airstrips in the Ambazonia, including the Tico International Airport, the government of Ambazonia headquartered in Buea at the time, the maps of 2 separate nations, to mention but a few. In an ever-increasing tempo of this fast, we are all witnesses in more recent times to their encroachment into our legal system. And one they still continue to do despite rousing and bitter outcry by our people and protest by the Ambazonian lawyers, commonly termed as common law lawyers amongst our people. Their nefarious agenda to further assimilate and strengthen the annexation of our homeland became even more glaring with their more recent clamor to harmonize our cherished educational system, an act by which they seek to destroy the soul of our Anglo-Saxon tradition, hoping by so doing to crush the spirit of the Ambazonian nation. But little did they estimate the will of our people to fight for, and if need be, lay down their lives for what they cherish and believe in. This is the spirit that has caused us to survive 56 years of collective punishment for no crimes committed, but simply because our land is a repository of an array of wealth, natural wealth, for which they swept in as highway armed robbers 56 years ago, and since then, under gunpoint to our backs, have been causing us to cower, while they rip us dry and plunder our resources, placing our land under a constant state of emergency, siege, and economic blockade. It is that same spirit of survival and to fight for that which is rightfully ours until we have it given to us that we stage historic battles until we had our system of education up and running in our own land as the GCE board and our Anglo-Saxon universities. By the ambers of this same spirit of never say die, on the 30th of August 2016, our people were inspired to rise up against the injustices of the arbitrary arrest and prolonged hostage of our liberation activists in Buea, to stage a historic protest against the annexation and illegal occupation of our homeland by the Republic of Cameroon. Our judicial institutions ought to be the pinnacle of the rule of law, the rallying point of a most classic combination of forces to defend the downtrodden in bringing redress and reparation to as many as are adjudged worthy of same, a springboard for justice and an elixir of solace and protection to the weak and strong alike, from the arrogance of lawless individuals, institutions, and entities without fear or favor, as construed by the ethics, principles, and practices of the common law traditions. It is, however, sad that as a result of Cameroon's unpardonable meddle into this great institution of prudence and justice of ours, with alien but unacceptable incursions and practices, it has begun to bleed red, as nepotism, mediocrity, flagrant abuses of the rule of law, abuse to the ethics of the common law traditions, and infrastructural debilitation has become the standing order. Indeed, our divergent belief systems as peoples from two colonial experience and our conflicting core values as expressed and eternalized by our distinct law systems are received for disaster, if not duly respected. The Republic of Cameroon's diabolic plans to muffle and collapse the common law system of Ambazonia must be met with a constancy of repudiation in earnest and fervency. As I speak to you at this very moment, our educational system is in a continuous attack of a seemingly subtle nature. but one that is bent on ensuring a disarray which seeks to impose an alien lingual tradition under the guise of regional balance and an elusive bilingual concept that is designed to do all but permit the sustenance and seamless advancement of the English language. A design by which we are constantly inundated by text to an English-speaking audience in disregard of our distinct Anglo-Saxon monolingual tradition. We are witnesses to the importation of French-trained teachers by the occupying regime of the Republic of Cameroon to our schools to teach subjects in a language they have no competence over, all in a bid to truncate the learning process and accomplish a hidden agenda by which they hope to destabilize the sterling qualities of our distinct educational system and thus arise someday to make a vague claim to a need to have it scrapped altogether. Due to lapses they have already begun to engineer through this stealthy scheme of ensuring discordance in the teaching and learning processes. But this must not be allowed to continue nor to happen. As I speak to you, the impact of the deplorable situation of our roads in diverse corners of our territorial divide is unimaginably telling on the growing and livelihood of our people. Somewhere, and why not everywhere, in the Ambazonia right now, the missing link between a better living standard and a life of squalor, hardship and penury is at the mercy of simple farm to market roads which are absent, and the presence of impassable muddied highways lacing the entire northern and southern zones of the Ambazonia. These are conditions that Cameroon has perpetrated in the Ambazonia in 56 years, despite the wealth of resources it has carted away. We are challenging and calling on the Republic of Cameroon not just to solve the problems her presence in our country has caused us, but to vacate our land and allow us to sort solutions to our gruesome lot in the recovery of our dignity as a people and territorial integrity as a state. An Ambazonian family, as I make this statement, is going hungry. Children deprived of education, wives deprived of husbands, families plunged into disarray, a young man, underage fellow, a father and a daughter is languishing in a confined area of torture and deprivation of the most basic components of human and people's rights, not by accident nor by virtue of the catastrophe of natural disaster nor health epidemic, but by the onslaught of impunity and inhumanity against humanity. A genocide of our human dignity has ripped us of confidence. A genocide of our free space has ripped us of liberty of movement. A genocide of our socio-cultural existence has ripped us of our liberty to move, to talk, and to freely associate. We were born to exist, to live, to conquer in the greatness of liberty. But here we are, forced to cower and begging to survive because strangers have invaded our land and taken over our nation. Yes, when in the month of February of this same year, Womb town of Menchum County was invaded and our people seized in their numbers, molested and carted away to and imprisoned in Yaoundé by armed military personnel of the occupying regime. It was an act of impunity against our people. Maxwell Oben in Boya prisons, Numvi Walters, Che Clovis, Kongso Stephen and Andrew Tabufor under arbitrary arrest and imprisonment for over 3 years and 1 year respectively are all acts of impunity against the Ambazonia. Such are the inexhaustible and inexcusable acts of 56 years of annexation and subjugation from which we must be disentangled by brute force or compelling peace. The Ambazonia Governing Council is now calling on all Ambazonians everywhere around the world, in their little home corners, in the Ambazonia and in every organized systems and corridors of powers wherein they find themselves, both home and abroad, to delve into the enduring pool of their spirit of defiance, courage, resilience, and resistance to injustice, to rise above the formidable waves of diverse forms of limitations, and place a demand that must see to the freedom of our Ambazonia from the Republic of Cameroon. Let the hero in each and every Ambazonian be made to manifest. The doors of the Ambazonian Governing Council, under the leadership of Dr. Ayabacho Lucas, are open to work with each and every citizen of Ambazonia and non-Ambazonians alike, as an organization or as an individual or a nation across the world, as we engage a horse-powered move towards the goal of our collective restoration of the statehood of Ambazonia. I have a message to the international community, to the United Nations, the world and its people, and why not indeed the African Union, without which my message to the Ambazonian people thus far will be wanting in its scope of completion and strength of purpose. Indeed, the Ambazonia forms a part of the global community. It is a global village, meaning we are all interconnected on a level playing field of global policies, the result of which directly or indirectly affects all of humanity. On this note, therefore, I wish to draw the world's attention to the following facts of prudence: that the continued silence and inaction by the international community over the issues of my people's sufferings and country's crippling limitation as an annexed and subjugated state is a mark of disrepute and a showcase of negligence in a demonstration of bad faith to your own people in your own various countries. A disrepute also to your commitment to the norms and principles guiding and shaping the way things are done in the international community to foster peace, security, and progress. Should the people of Ambazonia resort to their reposed prerogative to self-defense against the Republic of Cameroon's imperial aggressions of over 50 years running, we can be guaranteed that the consequences shall escape all, affect all, but the rest of the sub-regions in question. And why not Africa as a whole, and certainly the world at large? I therefore call on all 52 nations that voted a resounding yes to the independence of Ambazonia in 19th April 1961, following which a fixture of the 1st of October as Ambazonia Independence Day was done, as well as all other nations today that are sympathetic to the people of Ambazonian compelling desire to be salvaged from the hijacked justice of independence granted to their nation. I call on all as sundry to join hands with the people of Ambazonia from all over the world and in the land of Ambazonia to correct the wrongs of history and rewrite the stories that the next generations of Ambazonians shall be told about their existence as a distinct people and a sovereign nation. This is the only way by which justice shall have been served to a dehumanized and a disenfranchised people. This is the only way by which the United Nations and the world at large would have accorded utmost relevance and respect to its own principles of governance as enshrined in the United Nations Charter. This is the only way by which the United Nations and the rest of the world would have construed itself to the respect of the inalienable human and people's rights of my people, the people of Ambazonia, and by extension the right and dignities of all other peoples and nations. This is the only way by which they, the United Nations, would have forestalled pending catastrophe of military arms resistance against the Republic of Cameroon to the liberation and restoration of the statehood of the Ambazonia. God bless the Ambazonia. God bless the leadership of the Federation of the Governing Council of Ambazonia. And God bless the people of Ambazonia, former British Southern Cameroons.